What's up, Nebraska family? I didn't see that one coming. I even got my drawers on. And I'm just like, I guess I gotta put something out. Man, we're always hopeful. It's funny, I was doing a video comparing, contrasting run blocking from back in the day in terms of how they did it and how they're doing it now. It's funny, man, watching this team. There's so many pieces that are fun to watch. Anthony Grant, some of these receivers. I think the offensive line is actually starting to get a little better. I think Thompson is I think he's pretty damn good, to be honest. But it's still choppy. Every single year has felt choppy. And you always keep thinking that it's going to get a little better. You keep hoping it's going to get a little better. Because at the end of the day, and this is me personally, knowing what college football is today, it's a round-robin mercenary-style coaching scenarios where, it's all about the money. So top-notch coaches are basically guns for hire. They come in, they clean house, they give you a couple good solid winning seasons or whatever, and then somebody offers them more money, boom, they're gone. Nebraska being Nebraska, I wanted to flat out see something consistent, Tom Osborne style, that they have such a deep love for this program that in the state, blah, 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 that for the most part, even once they start winning and getting a title or two, or maybe not, whatever, but just consistently winning and competing for conference titles, etc., that nobody's going to come in and poach this coach. You want to see him succeed and do well, but you want him to stay. And at the end of the day, I think that's probably why we gave Frost such a long rope. Unjustified. Now, looking back on it, But he ain't stupid. Frost ain't stupid. He's not a guy. He's known for his intelligence. And can you think of a laundry list of coaches and mentors that has a longer laundry list than Frost? I mean, just to name a few, obviously Osborne and Chip Kelly, but then, the professional coaches that he was involved with Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, off the cuff of my top of my head, I'm brain farting on the guy that's the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just to name a few. I mean, some of those guys are the greatest coaches of all time, So yeah, there was, on paper, there was really no reason to think or believe that if you just give him enough time, that he can't pull this off, even bringing in all the right coaches and all the right whatever. Like, there shouldn't be a reason that he can't pull it off, because why the hell is Nebraska so snake bit when it comes to, can no coach win here? But I'm also a 5-year guy, I believe every coach should be given 5 years. Even Riley begrudgingly was like, yeah, we still got to give him 5 years. We got to give him 5 years. So that leads us into the next question. So why? And this is purely just we're just throwing darts. We're playing darts right now. Why is it that Frost wasn't able to work? Time never lies, and as time goes on, we'll hear certain point of views on the reasons why he didn't work out. You could make the argument, all right, was the job too big for him? I find that hard to believe. I don't think it had any. He knows the area, he knows the place, he knows the university, he knows what the demands are, he knows the fans. So no, the job was not too big for him. Was it his ego? Did his ego get in the way? Was he hard to work with? Would he try to subvert other coaches and what they would try to do? Would he undercut them on a regular basis for his own validations? I can actually respect this in the sense that, you can say his ego's too big for his brain, but in a lot of ways, like, I like his out-of-the-box thinking style, because I can relate to this, his willingness to not do what is expected of him. It's like, all you think I'm going to go this direction, well, I'm going to go this direction, and I think in a lot of ways, like, you can make the argument even when he was still crazy, the highest recruited quarterback or player coming out of high school. When he came out of high school, everybody automatically assumed that he's going to Nebraska, right? Nebraska's on top of the world, in mid-90s, whatever, they're about ready to go through their multiple championship run, and he decides, forget that, all this outside pressure to go to Nebraska, forget that, I'm going to Stanford. And Bill Walsh, there's another guy that he worked with for a little bit of time, was Bill Walsh. So he goes to Bill Walsh. There's that outsider mentality of being like, I'm gonna carve my own road, and I like that. I like that individuality. I like that autonomy. You can make the argument though that same mentality is partially why he might have been pretty difficult to work with. I don't know that. I'm just thinking out loud. I think that's one thing that we can kind of gather. Was he a classic example of being too smart for his own damn good and overthinking the fundamentals and overthinking game plans and trying to make them more flashy and sexy, when they didn't need to be, again, which therefore takes them away from fundamentals. That's very logical and possible. It's hard to say. Yes, you could make the argument because of his ego that's intertwined with his kind of almost too smart for his own damn good type of shit. Like, you can make the argument that that's partially what plays into the what many perceive as his unwillingness to take accountability for what's going on, and to throw players under the bus, throw past coaches under the bus, throw present coaches under the bus, or take little jabs at them. You know what I mean? I think a little bit of that, some of that is just pure jockish humor, or just jockish mentalities. But then also, that's, as far as like on the surface, that's not something that you want to be saying to the public, to the rest of the media, to all the news outlets and whatnot. Just throwing other cats under the bus. That's a great way to subvert a locker room. They're kind of like fighters. Football players are kind of like fighters, I think. The fighters, you cannot rattle their ego. You cannot shake their ego. You cannot shake their confidence, because it will show up in the fight. I think the same thing when it comes to coaching unity, communication, players, etc. You cannot rattle those egos. You cannot do something that makes them question themselves. So we've come to find out it's Mickey Joseph. Mickey Joseph is going to be the replacement for now, the supplemental coach, whatever. And I like it. I heard, or some people said maybe Shenander would or whatever, but I like Mickey Joseph. And personally, I did watch the Trev Albert's press conference. And Mickey Joseph has not only a no-nonsense, very black and white, very cutthroat, old school military mentality, which one of the questions I asked on why Frost probably didn't work out or do well is because were the philosophies too soft? Were the practices too soft? Were they not executing the right things? Were they not hitting enough? Nowadays you can't hit hardly at all in practices getting ready for the season. But even under the restrictions, were they still not hitting enough? Just all based on the premise that we got to keep our players healthy. Because that's one thing that was always obvious to me was, even though the defense was much improved last year in 2021, you still saw examples of them missing tackles and, kind of getting pushed off the ball sometimes. But then there are other times you didn't, so those players definitely got tougher. This year, absolutely, you're seeing players just get pushed all over the place, and they look like they never did live tackling once. That's what it looks like to me. Their fundamentals in tackling are just all over the place. And that was one of the other videos I was going to do on top of the O-line footage, the O-line, looking at the O-line back in the day as opposed to now, philosophy changes. I was going to look at some of the tackling too. Yeah. Angles, tackling angles, blah, 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 whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, going back to Mickey Joseph, his no-nonsense style, his grittiness, I think is going to be a very much needed change of pace for this team. And I think that's partially why Trev Alberts chose him. But also the other reason why I think Trev Alberts, he said it in that press conference on the reason why he chose Mickey Joseph was because they will, throughout this year, they will do a national search for a new coach. But they do want to see how Mickey Joseph does in this position. A more disciplined team and a team that is doing all the little things correctly. They may not be winning. They may not necessarily be winning, whatever as the schedule as the rest of the year transpires. But if they start showing progression, sounds to me like he's grooming or hoping Mickey is going to be the guy, which I 100% on board. If Mickey can do the things that Scott couldn't do, obviously, hell yes, please don't screw that up. And to be honest, going back to the Frank Solich firing, I think universally, I think we all agree, Nebraska fans that remember back in Frank Solich situation, he got screwed. He got screwed by that shitty athletic director we had. Never was given a chance to all those new hires that Frank Solich went and got, including Bo Pelini. All those guys that he went and got, they never got a chance to really unravel, not unravel in a bad way, but I mean really develop themselves as a coaching staff. And I think that coaching staff with Frank Solich as the head guy, that would have been good. I liked him. But then when he got fired, Bo Pelini was the interim coach and the team looked great. Everybody wanted us to keep Bo Pelini. which they didn't do. When we got Bill Callahan, and then we came back and got Bo Pelini. If we see moderate success with Mickey Joseph, I think Trevor's going to do the right thing and keep him. Again, keeping it in-house. I think keeping it in-house and guys that you know will stay around if they start succeeding, I think is my number one priority. I don't want these gun for hires. I don't want an Urban Meyer to show up, and he's got baggage anyway, but Urban Meyer to show up and revamp this program. We go get a national title. We have a couple winning seasons, and then for some stupid reason, some toxic shit that he's doing in the back, stuff has come back to haunt him, and boom, he's out. Or he takes another paycheck going somewhere else, and he's gone in 3 years. Like, no, I don't want that. So the next thing that I'm wondering is, like, why can't anyone win at Nebraska? Why? I mean, Frank Solich did well. Frank Solich did good, but it was right off of, the momentum of the last 25 years that Tom Osborne had created. And I do believe that those coaches would have been good. So who knows? It didn't happen that way. But by and large, Frank Solich was winning, but you saw an athletic drop-off. You were seeing an athletic drop-off. And when they lost big. Callahan, no. Even though they definitely, obviously won more than for us did, but that ain't saying much. You could still see the product on the field and being like, yeah, you can keep Callahan around for a couple more years, but this is just going to keep getting worse. Bo Pelini brought in crazy talent and brought in some of the best players we've ever had. But kind of like Solich, when they lost big. Like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even competitive. Like, they'd win 9 wins, but the losses that they would have were like 70 to freaking 20 type losses. They looked so unprepared and they wouldn't make any adjustments, which was equally as disheartening, in my opinion, as just having Nebraska lose a bunch, but they're always competitive in every game, Equally as, I think in some ways it's worse, in my opinion. Or maybe that's just because I'm used to it. Mike Riley was a train wreck. I was never a fan of that. Nobody was ever a fan of that hire. So nobody can win. Nobody can win at Nebraska except Tom Osborne. Maybe I should make another video that's all about some of the greatest coaches of all time and open up the avenue of what were the greatest coaches of all time. Nick Saban's got all the records, but oh my God, I saw a breakdown of who's got all the 5 stars, and it's not even close. It's like 2-1. Alabama getting all the 5 stars compared to the next team down, which I think was Georgia. Like the number of 5-star athletes that they're getting. Alabama's been a pro team practically, a semi-pro team, and hey, I like Nick Saban. You can't take away from what he's done, but at the end of the day, it's like, psh. You can make the argument that the amount of talent that he's gotten, you can make the argument that how come Saban hasn't won every single title since he's been the coach? I don't know. To me, there's never been a coach that did more with less than Tom Osborne. That could be something we could look at moving forward. Anyway, this is where we're at, guys. This is where we're at. We kind of knew it was coming, I think. I think we all knew once we saw that first game, the Northwestern game, we were like, yeah, it's going to be a long shot that he's going to be able to coach the rest of this season. I think most of us assumed that they were going to save the money and can him after October, but I think doing it now, I think a lot of it was based on maybe try to maintain as many kids as you have as possible. If they did it now and players got used to the guy that was going to be replacing, whether it be Mickey Joseph or another guy, like that would give these players a chance to decide for themselves as opposed to just leaving impulsively. Because if you have a terrible season with Frost the rest of this year, or even up to October, you're going to have a lot of players just impulsively just dipping. And I think at least this way it gives players a chance to settle into the new digs, if you will. Enjoy that new car smell. Like most of these players that we went out and got, kind of like the whole mercenary coach for hire or gun for hire type of thing too, via the transfer portal. Most of them are going to be one-year wonders anyway. So to a certain degree, you already know a bunch of these players are going to be gone regardless. I suppose the one thing that you don't want to see is like that 2023 recruiting class was looking pretty solid. You don't want to see lose a bunch of those guys, but free agency, if you will. Anyway, guys, just had to throw this out there, and yeah, we got Oklahoma in a week, so we'll see what talk about Talk about one hell of a game to try out the new digs, even if it's a temporary gig, whatever. Yeah, Mickey Joseph, Oklahoma. No worries. All right, love you, Nebraska family. We'll talk soon.